This is the VR headset that I've been using with my overkill racing sim, the Big Screen Beyond 2. It's OLED, has extremely clear lenses, weighs basically nothing, and so far it's the best one that I've tested. But today, we're gonna see if that changes. Pimax just sent me their latest modules for the Crystal Super. This is a VR headset where you can actually swap out the entire optical assembly, the display and everything, and just upgrade to ones with different specs. And the two that I have today, I've been really looking forward to. One is an ultra-wide module with what would be the widest FOV I've ever tested, and the other one is an OLED with pancake lenses. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned testing out all of these different VR headsets is that the specs really tell you like 50% of the story, if that. Things like resolution and refresh rate, the main specs of a gaming monitor, for example. They're important here, but they're not nearly as important as the optics and the lens quality. Things like the focus sweet spot, how much of the display you can clearly see. And then as you get towards those outer edges, things like color fringing and distortion, those are still a very big part of the conversation, even on these flagship headsets. This is also why I've stuck with the Big Screen Beyond 2 as my main VR headset. Despite the spec sheet not being as impressive as the Crystal Super QLED, it does have just some amazingly clear pancake lenses and also some really vibrant OLED panels sitting behind them. It just makes for an unbelievably clear and rich visual experience. So what does that mean for these new modules? Now, the first one here is the ultra-wide module. Still a 3840 by 3840 QLED display per eye that can run up to 90 Hz, just insane specs, but this one stretches the field of view up to 140 degrees horizontally. An increase in FOV has been one of the biggest things that I've been looking forward to. A lot of VR headsets still give you the feeling that you're looking through a pair of goggles, but hopefully not this one. And the second module is actually an OLED. This one uses tiny micro OLED displays from Sony behind concave pancake lenses. So similar to the Big Screen Beyond, but that's about as far as the similarities go. This one has twice the amount of pixels and a higher refresh rate, and a higher claimed FOV. Swapping in one of the new modules is actually insanely easy. There are two plastic retention clips that you can pull back, and you can literally just hot swap to a completely different display and set of lenses, and that's it. Load up the Pimax software, do any software updates, change the LED stripe on the front to whatever you want, and you're back to gaming as usual. Now let's start with the ultra-wide module, because this is the one that I was most interested to try. All of the VR headsets that I've tried pretty much so far have been a 100 to 110 FOV, where you can actually still see the interior edges of the headset itself. I've been really waiting to try something that just opens that FOV right up and gives a super immersive, just natural field of view. The moment I put this on, I immediately noticed the difference. Were the interior black edges completely gone? No. Not even close. You can still see them, but at the same time, this is significantly wider than anything else I've tested, and you notice it right away. Everything feels more open, you can see more of the car interior, and the wider FOV did feel more natural, like I was hoping. Things like feeling the car dive under heavy braking, which was not a difference I was expecting, but yeah, you can just see those more obvious balance shifts of the cabin and just notice what the car is doing a bit more. At the same time, I'm not sure how much of that extra field of view I would say is like super usable. It's definitely extra screen there, but it does get a bit soft and fringy towards those edges, which is a bit of a shame. For me, this is better than the QLED module I had tested previously in the Crystal Super, but it does still feel like a downgrade compared to my Big Screen Beyond 2. Specifically, the visuals, the image quality, the colors, things just look a little bit more unnatural and washed out here, and you are reminded that you are playing a game. So what does that mean for this right here, Pimax's new OLED module? Well, compared to the Big Screen Beyond, it's heavier, it's larger, some would argue it's way more uncomfortable, and it's also twice as expensive, believe it or not. But man, I gotta say, in terms of raw image quality, I have never seen anything like this. This is the best looking VR headset that I've ever seen. It's the closest thing that I've seen to putting on a headset and not feeling like you're looking through a pair of lenses. The Big Screen 2 gave me this feeling as well, but it's even more apparent here. I mean, you put this thing on and it's immediately clear. It's so clear that you can almost wear it incorrectly and it's still fine. The focus sweet spot is massive. I'd say the middle 70 to 80% or so for me looks extremely crisp, and then off to the edges, yeah, there's some minimal color fringing, softness, distortion, the usual stuff. I think we are a long way from complete edge-to-edge clarity, but so far this is the closest thing that I've seen to that. One of the biggest things that I noticed between this and the big screen Beyond 2 is the resolution, just the sheer pixel count difference between these two headsets. Now, I'm not able to get any through the lens recordings of that headset because the lenses are like this big and it just doesn't look realistic, but hopefully you can see what I mean here, at least with the Crystal Super OLED. 4K per eye was not something that I could fully appreciate before on their QLED modules, but on this OLED, it almost gives you retina level detail, the point where you can't see individual pixels. So all those super fine details and textures, they just look unbelievable on this headset. I found myself just trying a bunch of different cars, downloading new mods, and just inspecting the cabin in disbelief. I mean, just the steering wheels, the small scratches and imperfections on some of the gauge clusters, just the mental sharpness and detail. I've never seen anything like this. And then when you're actually driving as well, you notice a big difference there too. Ground shadows on the track, for example, distant fence lines, edges of car models. These things always appear a little bit shimmery on other headsets, but here, everything is resolved very smoothly. But yeah, 8K OLED in VR is as insane as it sounds. And then there are the colors, which remind me a lot of the big screen Beyond. Again, it's just the difference here of OLED versus QLED. There is a monstrous difference. Much more vibrant, richer, more natural colors here. The game world truly comes to life. I'm mostly playing modded Assetto Corsa, lots of different like weather and graphics mods, and I have to say, with this headset, these are easily some of the best PC graphics that I've ever seen. And again, this isn't just because of the OLED and the resolution, it's primarily because of Pimax's new lens design that makes everything so clear. Also, because of the concave structure, you can get your eyes really close to them, and for me, the optics improve even more by doing that. But yeah, these are the most comfortable set of lenses that I've ever looked through on a VR headset. Refresh rate is also something that I noticed coming from the big screen. Here you've got up to 90 Hz, whereas I was running the Beyond 2 at 72 Hz. It does have a 90 Hz mode, but it does have to drop the resolution to enable that, which for me just wasn't worth it. At 90 Hz, you can notice a lot more micro jitters and subtle car movements, steering wheel and driver animations improve as well, the road and fences passing around you look a lot smoother, and the input lag feels lower too. 90 Hz is a noticeable upgrade if you can drive that amount of frames. And that is a massive if. I've been running 100% resolution scale in Steam VR, which for some reason turns out to be around 6K per eye, and it's pretty rough. In modded Assetto Corsa, I'm mostly getting around 70 FPS with a 5090, and if I turn on heavy weather settings, making the game look insane and incredible, it actually drops down to like 50 frames per second. The FOV as well is a touch wider than what I was seeing on the big screen too. It does feel like you're looking through a bigger pair of lenses, nothing compared to their ultra-wide module, but for some reason, I just didn't really care that much. I had the same feeling on the big screen Beyond 2. I think it's down to the clearer lenses giving you more usable FOV since there's a lot more in focus. Now there are some drawbacks. It is a very expensive VR headset, twice the price of a big screen Beyond 2, and also factor in that you need a very beefy GPU to run this thing. Anything less than a 5080, I don't think you're getting the full performance out of this headset. I mean, I'm running a 5090 and I know I'm running fully modded Assetto Corsa, but still, that thing is struggling. And then there's the size and the weight. This thing is bulky AF, but I would say for a stationary sim, it's actually quite comfortable. This top strap and this rear clamp actually work incredibly well. I did a couple really long sessions in this thing, 5 or 6 hours, and I didn't feel any pain, any discomfort. I got the occasional like pressure marks on my cheeks that go away within like 20 minutes, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I will also note the lens perimeter does stick out quite a bit. It can tend to hit you on your nose, so just tighten up the top strap and that seemed to solve that issue for me. There are a few other really cool things about the Crystal Super that I mentioned in my initial video with it. The inside-out tracking, for example, is super cool. It's really nice not having to rely on external base stations. The built-in speakers are also extremely good. I've been using them at like 60% volume, which is plenty, and the fact that you could potentially see more upgrades down the road and just swap in a new module, that's pretty neat as well. I know Pimax are also working on the Dream Air and Air SE, much smaller, lighter headsets, one of which looks like it has the same display and optics to what we have here, so that will be interesting. There is also the Steam Frame, which was just announced, but I think that's looking more like a Quest 3 killer rather than a Pimax or big screen competitor. It's an LCD module that's much lower resolution. Even if that thing has the best lenses in the world, I don't think it's going to really come close to these. For a VR simulator right now though, the Pimax Crystal Super OLED is at the top of the food chain, and I don't think it's by a small amount either.